Welcome to Hey Soul Sista, the podcast for women ready to embrace greater joy, freedom, and a soulful life. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to subscribe, follow, like, and share. In this episode of Hey Soul Sista, Laura shares the raw reality of what it's like to lose the safety and certainty of home, the emotional toll it's taken, and how she and her family are navigating the unknown. We'll also talk about her incredible career, the celebrity she's interviewed, and the light and laughter that has shaped her story so far. This is a conversation about shock, resilience, and the true meaning of home. Hello, Laura Jackel.
Hello, Mal. That's lovely. Beautiful intro.
Well, it's been a long time coming. No, you have been on Hey Soul Sister before. Yes, you have been. That's right. We were talking about midlife.
Yes.
Which you have a podcast about midlife.
I do. And it's called The Change. And I talk with Kathy O'Brien, who we met at Mamma Mia, and we interview people about being in midlife. And I love it. Love chatting to people about this stage of life.
Because you've worked at some amazing places.
I have indeed. So I guess I was a freelance writer for a long time. Did a lot of work for various different publications, but always loved Mamma Mia. We're going back kind of 10 years now, actually. And I had my first story published with them in 2015 and really just felt like my writing was a good fit for them and the brand. And then in 2021, I got a permanent role with them. It was during COVID and stayed as part of the team for another 2.5 years. And it was great. I loved it.
Were you so excited when you got a job at Mamma Mia?
I was excited.
That's like you've made it, no?
Yeah, it felt really special because I'd never felt like I don't know, like I was beyond 40 and I felt as if career options were running out for me. Media is traditionally quite an ageist environment, and the role advertised at Mamma Mia was on courtship, which is a bit like an internship, but it's for women who are returning to the workforce after a period of time out. And while I'd never really left the workforce, I'd always been a freelancer. It was my first kind of job back, earning a wage. It was really, it was a very exciting time.
I used to love the photos that you would post of yourself at Mamma Mia headquarters.
It was such a great office at Woolloomooloo there, and views of the harbour. And I'd go down once a week. This is after COVID lockdown, because when I first started, it was purely from home. And once the lockdowns lifted, I'd go down once a week. And what a great day. A very long day, but a really fun, always fun down there.
That's cool.
It was really cool.
That's what we want to work, right? Want to have a bit of fun.
Yes, yeah. And that's something they did really well. Make a creative, inspiring space to work. Always something going on, always people coming in, always bits of free product that had been sent to Mia that she'd have these, various sort of sales for staff or just giving them away and shuffle into the kitchen and rummage through the things and take what we could.
That sounds fun. Freebies.
Oh, I love freebies. I miss the freebies. Yeah.
I love a freebie too. If anybody wants to send me a freebie, I will take it.
Still happy to receive.
Yeah. And you've worked at some other really cool places, Kid Spot.
Yeah. So News Corp, I did a contract there as a night editor at Kid Spot. That was really interesting as well. That's based at Surrey Hills in the big News Corp offices. So that was a bit more of a traditional media environment, but I did get to go down there a couple of times and spend time with the team. It was all part of news.com.au's offices. So again, very vibrant, fast-paced environment. And it was an interesting and steep learning curve and great to be part of that team for the brief period.
So you say night editor. Does that mean that people work around the clock there?
Yes. And no, so I don't think there was anyone working on my team overnight. I finished at 10, so there was a number of journos and staff working until about 10 or 11 every day.
Wow, yeah. That's full on news.
It was full on news, and I'd often have to jump in for general lifestyle stories, even though I was mostly doing parenting for Kids Spot. Sometimes if a major incident happened, which it did a couple of times, bring those stories as well. So it was it was a really steep learning curve for sure.
And of course, I first met you years ago when I think you were the first person maybe ever to interview me when you were at Hunter Lifestyle.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And I had a full circle moment because I did come back and work for Hunter Lifestyle magazine more recently. And yeah, I loved working back then. It was with Marilyn and Phil, who were in the publication early 2000s, was it? And I think I interviewed you maybe 2012? 14. Okay.
2014. I'm very specific, aren't I?
Yes.
It's like burnt in my brain. But I was really chuffed. It was really nice.
This is so nice.
Yeah.
And you've just been to Nepal.
Nepal.
Yeah.
I hadn't even started Got You Back Sister then.
No.
The charity.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a real early stage, wasn't it?
I think I was holding fundraising events and blogging for the Sister Code.
Yeah, it was a fun time.
Yeah. So before we delve into the story around your home experience, landslide experience, okay, I really want to know favorite person you've ever interviewed.
Okay, so many, and a lot of them aren't celebrities, to be honest. I've had so many interesting chats with people. Favorite ever person, I suppose, from a fangirl perspective, Celeste Barber. She was lovely. And
is she really funny?
Really funny and just lovely. And then at the end of our chat, I was saying, oh, my parents love you. She's like, oh, what a name. Hi, Anne. Hi, Peter. It was very cute. And she was very generous and lovely. Yeah, I enjoyed talking to her.
I love hearing about celebrities that are generous and give you a little bit of, a personal bit of themselves. That's really lovely.
Yeah. She was great. And it was when she was coming up to Newcastle when she was on tour. So it was for Mamma Mia, the story. But yeah, she was interested in Newcastle, our home city.
Yeah. I love that. And have you had any funny or unexpected celebrity experiences? And I say celebrity because we always love hearing a little bit of celebrity news.
I think one thing I was thinking about that was working again at Mamma Mia, and I was in the office and I looked up from my desk and it was Trini Woodall, and I love Trini so much and her makeup, and really those shows in the early 2000s where Trini and Susanna would undress the nation and tear them to shreds really for having bad dress sense. But I did like seeing Trini, and she was she's just like one of those people I follow online, and was super excited to see her in real life. She was on Mia's podcast at the time giving some great skincare and makeup tips for the midlife women.
Do you know what I love about Trini?
Yeah.
Is that she is a woman that is really embracing her midlife stage 2. I love that. I'm like, she did the whole reinvention from Trini and Susanna to now she has a makeup label doing her own thing. When she kind of resurfaced again, because it felt like didn't see them for a while.
That's right.
I was like, good on you. I love that.
Yeah.
Because now that, of course, I'm 50, I want to hear all the stories about that.
Reinventions in midlife. Yeah.
Are you doing any reinventions?
Look, yes, absolutely. Life is one big, long journey of reinvention. I think to stay the same would be crazy. I only get one chance. And I think, yes, absolutely. I'm excited. I've got a few projects on the go.
Oh, do you want to share any?
Sure. Okay. So obviously there's the podcast that Kathy and I are doing, The Change, which we'll just keep going into season 4 with that. And I have decided, having worked in traditional media for a long time and also having been through this crazy life experience of late, I just need to feel the joy again in life. And I think a lot of our news cycle is very depressing. And I think that's not just for me personally, but I think as anyone, and you just click on the news, it's pretty bad, right? We've been through terrible times. Unprecedented is this word that we just hear all the time.
And of course, this morning we saw the assassination of Charlie Kirk. That was did you see the video?
I did not, no.
Oh my God. Okay, I was at the hairdresser this morning getting a washer blade.
Yeah, great.
Thank you. I've got very unruly hair. I need it to get tamed. But anyway, I was at the hairdresser and one of the girls came over and showed me her phone, and it was the video of literally him sitting on stage and boom, like blood pouring out. It was like it was like in a movie. Dramatic. I was oh my God. And that was from Twitter.
And that's the thing. We confronted with these awful images, aren't we? All the time, whether it's that sort of shocking news item or, the shocking news out of the Middle East is just permanent. It's a permanent, we've gone from one thing to the next, haven't we? And so, yeah, I'm launching my own little Good News Hunter Instagram news site, which I just want to shine a light and focus on beautiful things happening in the Hunter community spirit. I want to talk to people that are doing great stuff good work with charity, with the environment, with business. I want to focus on fun things, quirky things, great events, and beautiful places and people. And that's where I want to spend my time and my energy. And I think that's what I'm really looking forward to getting into that. It's very much in a coming soon phase at this stage, but you can find me on Instagram at The Good News Hunter.
I love that. And that sounds fun.
Yeah, and fun. That's right. Yeah. I'm all about the fun. I need more fun in my life.
Don't we all? Are you looking for people to submit any imagery, that sort of thing?
Event news. Just contact me on Instagram, and I'll also have a website coming soon and things like that. So you can get in touch and share their good, happy news stories.
We need more good, happy news.
We do.
Absolutely. So it has been a freaking wet, kind of miserable winter. Kind of miserable.
Yeah.
I you know how you go, people go, oh, this has been such a hot summer. Was it as hot as last summer? I feel like this winter, it has been cold, super cold and super miserable with the rain. We actually had upstairs in our house, the ceiling in our bedroom and in our TV room has fallen in. But that pales in comparison to your story, your experience.
Yes.
Okay, what happened?
Okay. As you say, very wet May, and it's been wet for a lot of this year, but I was actually away. It was a belated 40th of my sister. I was in Singapore for a week, had a lovely time, was looking back at everyone's wet week and feeling very smug with myself for being away and having a great time, and came back to my husband that night, said, oh, it's been raining terribly. Under our house is really kind of flooded, but it was fine. And that morning he went to work. I stayed home, took the kids to school. We'd noticed a few cracks in the yard, so from the rain, and some engineers were in my neighbour's garden. I could see them over there with their yellow vests on. It was relatively minor. They took some photos. They said, look, your neighbours, there's been a landslip further up the street. And I had no idea. We knew it was wet. We knew there'd been some water under the house, but we felt like we were fine. We've had wet seasons before. And then they said, we'll be in touch if we need to, let you know any more information. I, again, was thinking, oh, this is terrible for New Lambton. I'm so sad for our neighbours. I popped up the road. I could see that it was quite bad by looking out their back window. And they were packing up and leaving. But I came home, picked up the kids from school, carried on my day as usual. And then at 4 o'clock, we're all sitting around having a cup of tea, thinking about what we're going to do for dinner. And the police knocked on the door and said, you have to evacuate. You need to leave. Your house is unsafe. And because of the landslip and because of the rain, so this is related to the natural disaster, essentially, in the East Coast floods. We had an hour to pack a bag and we've never been back. And that was back on May 23rd. So it was so traumatic because the kids, were just sitting around watching a bit of telly, and we did go back later on actually to pick up valuables with our insurance company, and the council sort of monitored us. We had 20-minute window, and
20 minutes to go. Sorry, I didn't scare you. 20 minutes.
Yeah, so we're all allowed 20 minutes, all the homeowners, to go back, because obviously the hour to get out was very much like, you need to go. This could be bad. So we got out, we took our things. But there was washing up in the sink. Do you know what I mean? It was like a weird horror movie or something, disaster movie, I should say. So when we came back, the following week on this 20-minute window where we had no power, then disconnected our power, but the house looked exactly the same. It was like we'd just come home from work. The things were in the sink, but it was not our home anymore. And that's sort of been this progressive, sad leaving of the home, because then that 20-minute window, we packed the cars full of stuff, valuables, passports, all those sorts of things. And then about a month later, our insurance company allowed us to go in and get our furniture, which was great because we'd found somewhere to live. And we were in essentially an Airbnb for about 6 weeks after we spent 2 weeks with my mother-in-law, who generously let us sleep in her spare room, and the kids on the sofa. And it was crazy first few weeks. So yeah, we've been back to the house about three times, and it's now half empty. There's still things in there. There's still bits and bobs left of kids' beds and clothes, and it's a strange space, really. It's still our home, but with this rain, this incessant rain,
it's raining again.
It triggers me every time. I'm like, oh God. The house has just been cracking. The yard's been kind of opening up. And there's these huge deep crevices now that are we were told, 9 meters deep.
Oh, like a sinkhole.
Yeah, essentially. But due to the landslip. So, and that's affecting the whole, or with 16 homes affected, it wasn't just us. And it's, it's a really huge, huge event to have happened. Apparently it's again, I hate to use this word, unprecedented, but this has never happened before in Australia with this many houses affected. There's been landslips, of course, heaps of times, but apparently this is the biggest one ever. And I thought, of all the things that I could be rare, that could happen to me in this rare thing, why couldn't I win the lottery? Why do I have to be part of this rare, unprecedented landslip situation?
When you went down, there was your landslip at your neighbour's place. You are not evacuated yet, and you went down to their place. Could you see it? Could you see where?
Yeah.
What did it look like?
So it's really weird, right? Because you think a landslip sounds like a rock fall. And I think that's what people think. And it sort of is, but it's basically where the buildup of rain has just cracked the soil essentially apart. So it's sort of broken the land into chunks. And at first, when it first happened, the first major landslip in May, it was just one big chunk, and a sort of, it looked like a landslide, like as you imagine, a lot of mud and broken pipes and things were exposed. But thankfully, most of the houses involved were okay, apart from a couple which is sort of down from us. We're on Russell Road. And but then since then, the land just keeps cracking in all these different places. So it's not just one crack, it's like a succession of cracks that are parallel to each other. And it's sort of, like in a line, if you know what I mean. And they're just opening up as the rain just keeps making the land split. So it's hard to describe. It's not much to look at from the air. It just looks like a big old muddy mess, because the land is cracking in all these different places. And so it's sort of putting everyone's homes at risks in different ways.
Is there mine subsidence in that area?
So the Mine Subsidence Board came down really early to check and see, and they established it wasn't to do with mines because, Newcastle's had obviously a long history with mining, and it wasn't that soil. It's my understanding. I've learned a bit about geology and topography.
And you're a journalist, and you know how to research.
That's right. It has been a lot of that. It's just been a crazy 3 months of change, a complete life upending kind of a change.
What did your boys do? How old are your boys?
So one's just turned 15 and one's 8.
You got a big gap there, Laura.
Yes, a big gap. Yes.
So what did they do? When you come in and you go, pack your bags, we're getting out of here. Did they go, Mum, I'm on the Xbox, ruck off? Yes. Or did they?
There was a bit of that. So it was, I think my youngest was upset. Like he didn't know what to do. I think didn't know what toys to take because, they've both got their established bedrooms and their things around them. And obviously we were told we'd get this 20-minute window the following week. So I said, look, just take what you need as if we're going on holiday. Let's just pack our favourites and we'll come back and get your other things later. And so, they were a bit upset, but I think sleeping on the sofa as well. My mother-in-law's, it was just, we had to go to school and work and, life just carries on, doesn't it? Even with these big events. So,
and they're sleeping on a lounge at your mum's place.
Yeah, that's right.
Did they get track of that?
They did. Which is why we were so grateful to find it was a friend's parents-in-law's house in Dublin. So we were renting that for a period, which was great. Obviously, we needed our own space. For 2 boys, you just need space. So once we kind of moved into there and got our cat, we had a cat, we had to go into like a cattery for a couple of weeks and emergency accommodation. And then we felt like we had a bit of a transitional home for a period.
And so what's happening now with the house?
So the house is definitely not looking good. Like I think at first we thought, oh, our house looks okay. It's not as affected as some of the other properties, but because of the cracking of the land with the rain, it has definitely deteriorated. We don't know what's going to happen. There's a current geotechnical investigation happening, which is going to take until January next year. Wow. So it's months away to really understand what's next for us. But from looking at our house, I find it very difficult to think that it's rescuable. I think I've had many emotional moments where I've had to kind of grieve it and go, well, this was not what we wanted. This was we'd just had it fully painted. I just bought all this cabinetry for it.
You've got a she shed up the back.
My she shed is looking very sad. I don't think that will ever be. That certainly won't be used again. That was my studio. It was my workspace. It was my little my lady space. So I miss that. There's a lot I miss about art. It's something we just have to kind of progressively get used to and work out what's next.
So I guess you said that they are doing geotechnical assessment in January, or it will take until January, because you go, can you just knock that house down and get a new house? Or you go, oh yeah, is the land just
that's done? That's right. That's the question that everyone wants to know. The land is the problem. And this is what's so frustrating about a landslip. And this is we don't know what caused it. Obviously we know it was a natural disaster. And the problem is, in a flood or a fire, a home is devastatingly ruined. And obviously that's traumatic, but you rebuild. In our case, our house is kind of slowly falling down in the most desperately sad, slow death. We have to wait for that to happen. So we can't just knock it down.
Really?
Yeah, we have to wait and see what's going to happen. So
you think is that the insurance company?
Yeah, they want to see what's going to happen, of course. Yeah.
Are they thinking what's the cheapest? What's the cheapest out?
I suspect it's all about money, right? Of course. So we do have an insurance claim, which is great. But until we know what the outcome of this report is, we won't know what's going to happen next. It's a lot of waiting. And then in the meantime, the land is not built uponable. We can't just do as if you would in a flood, or wait till the waters recede and we'll rebuild. It's like, well, if there's a 9-meter crevice underneath the house, you need some serious engineering work. This is not simple rebuild and go. So we don't know who, which is why we're advocating for ourselves as a group through the media and through our state MPs, through council, just saying, please help us. Please someone help us, because we have just lost our homes and the value tied up in our homes and our land, and we may never get it back.
And also you're paying rent.
Yes.
Did the insurance company help with that?
Yes.
Okay,
So
great.
yeah. Most people, if you have insurance in this situation, you are entitled to some money towards accommodation. But everyone's got a different situation, and we're lucky we've got a new place to live. But
because imagine if you weren't getting insurance dollars, you essentially could be paying a mortgage and rent as well.
Yeah, and it's been so stressful that it's managing this scenario and the kids' emotions and my emotions and all the admin that comes with it, and the stress around losing our home and all the things, not knowing where anything is, has been life-changing too. Just navigating the whole thing has been just madness.
Even the uncertainty and not being able to see or plan ahead, that in itself can be stressful, because as we know, there's comfort in knowing where you're going and what you're doing.
Yeah.
There's comfort in going, I know next year I'll be living here. I might go on a holiday, but this is my safe space. You don't have that.
No, it was sort of taken away from us so quickly. And we just know that we can't know that. It's a natural disaster. We don't know what's going to happen next. But yeah, it's really frustrating to not be able to plan what we're going to do in the next 6 to 12 to 2, 3 years. Yeah, no idea what's next in the sense of home and a family home. And I said to Jules the other day, I felt really sad because Toby being 15, that was our family home, and we eventually obviously was probably going to go to university, and then we would reconsider our lives and what we were going to do. But I think that now it's like, well, was that it? That was our family home gone. In 3 years' time, we'll probably still be living in our little townhouse, and we'll never have a family home again. That's it. It's done.
Okay, that's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah. We've kind of downsized into our retirement home, or whatever you want to call it, living in a small townhouse with the kids. And that could be where we're at for the next 5 years, probably. I'm speculating.
From day to day, how are you feeling?
From day to day, well, it's very challenging. I would say I have good days and bad days. And yeah, it's just I don't want this to define me. I think this is a traumatic experience. It's super rare. I don't think people understand things like, we can't rebuild. It's very slow. There's not a particular timeline. So it's boring, I suppose. And I don't want to bore people with the story all the time. It's really unusual and it's interesting in some ways, but it's also I don't want to be defined by it. At the same time, it is kind of life-defining. I feel like there's pre-landslip, post-landslip, and I feel like a different person to who I was 6 months ago, and the rug's been pulled under me, and I've had to reevaluate everything.
Because most people, you wake up in the morning, you go to work, you come home. That's your home.
Yeah,
that's your safe space. And often for people, they spend time and energy and money and love creating a home with whatever that looks like for them, whether it's furnishing or pictures on the walls or little things that you love, cooking, spending time.
Yeah.
It's your safe space. And so now you're just in this holding pattern of not knowing.
That's right. And I think, and you're right, I used to take a lot of pride in our house, and I chose the colors, and, I was the one that the art and the cushions and all the things, and I really loved our space. It was beautiful, beautiful home, an old Federation, lovely ceilings, 100 years old. It stood for 100 years, believe it or not. And we'd painted and loved it. We'd loved it, looked after it. We put a deck on the back. We had great views across leafy New Lambton. It's beautiful space, beautiful community. And so, not to have it anymore, it seems, it's really, it feels kind of cruel and sad. Yeah, very sad.
Do you feel any day-to-day anxiety or depression?
Yeah, look, I have been, I'm a big believer in psychology and counselling and looking after myself and my mental health. And I have seen a psychologist over the years for many reasons. And I have kept that up during this time, checked in with the GP, and just kind of tried to look after myself as best I can, mentally, physically, just making health a priority. I think that's been important. Going for walks every day in the morning, just to kind of get a bit of fresh air and think about what's on for the day and try and recenter myself. I think that's been really important.
Do you know what? I'm a very big believer in doing the inner work, whether that's therapy, whether that's daily practice, whether that's doing courses or going and having a Reiki session or kinesiology, or I had EMDR therapy recently because I had to have some surgery and I was freaking out about it. And I'm like, do you know what? Do the work, do the inner work. And it sounds harsh, doesn't it? Do the inner work, but I go, it makes such a difference. Yeah, it really does.
Absolutely, whatever that is for you.
Whatever that is for you. I know I've talked about on other episodes about doing breath work. That's been like a life changer for me in terms of maintaining a sense of calm and peace. Do you have any spiritual practice or soulful practice that you do, when you have those times when you are feeling down or it's getting all a bit much for you, that being in that holding pattern of life?
Yeah, look, I think I'm maybe leaning more into that side of myself the older I get and the more I go through. And I had a beautiful friend who was very spiritual, and she passed away almost a year ago today. And she was always had big discussions about soulful side of life and spirituality, and she was always telling me I needed to go a bit deeper in that. So I think, in honor of her, and especially after this situation, it's something I really want to look into a little bit more and think about. But in terms of how I already practice it, I think nature has been a big healer for me. I love being in nature, walking in the bush, looking at birds, looking at the trees, and just sort of trying to zone out and think about, the world is a big, beautiful thing, and I'm just a small person in it, and family as well, of course, and the people that I love. Spending time with loved ones has always been a huge way for me to center myself.
And you know what? Doing what you just said, going for a walk through the bush, listening to the birds, looking at the flowers, listening to the breeze through the trees, that's mindfulness practice. And that's the purpose of mindfulness, or not the purpose, that's the gift of mindfulness, is actually being just in the present moment. And in the present moment, everything's okay. You're okay.
That's right. Yeah.
And getting the mind still and just focusing on all the beautiful things around you.
That's it. I think so. And I think, I look at those trees, I think, well, they've been here long before me, and they'll probably be here long after me. And it just gives you that sense of perspective of your place in the world. And I'm just good at, I need to be actively meditating as opposed to lying down or something. I think that's why, being in nature is.
Do you meditate?
No, I've tried. And again, I suspect it probably would be good for me. But like you say, I think being in nature, just being switched on to it rather than listening to a podcast, which I do as well. But sometimes I like in the morning, especially, just to have nothing in my ears and just focus on nature.
That's your soulful practice.
It's my soulful practice.
It's your mindfulness practice.
Yes, it is. And when I see the colourful crimson rosella, I'm like, win-win, won the jackpot. Love it.
Isn't it funny? Because that's that little heart filler, right?
Yeah.
Seeing the little rosella, or I love to walk on the headland. We have a place off the coast and walk on the headland there. And I love looking at the rocks, and quite often I can find a rock that's shaped like a heart. And that's the mindfulness practice, exploring the beautiful little pieces and elements, shells and rocks and birds singing and all of that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's something you only notice, I reckon, when you get older as well. When you're young, you're just so, you're not kind of tuned into it as much, are you?
Well, I think you just get caught up in everyday life, and that's the joy of getting older, is actually learning all these little lessons along the way. Slowing down. Yeah. So speaking of that, soulful lessons, what have been some of the life lessons or soulful lessons that you've uncovered or excavated? Like, look at the pun of that.
Oh my gosh.
That you've excavated.
Yeah.
That just came to me too. That wasn't even a pre-planned. But yeah, what have you learned from this experience?
I suppose I've always liked things and my stuff. And like I said before, looking after our home and making it pretty and all our bits and bobs. And having to scale that right back it's been a learning that I can live without these things and the stuff. And that really what matters is my husband and my 2 boys. That's at the end of the day. If they're okay, I'm okay. So I think that has been a learning of paring back, and sort of the peripheral stuff that I worry about. I still worry about stuff. I certainly haven't managed that, but it has made me really reflect on life as a whole, and things that are important, and the people and the fun and the experiences. That's what makes a good life. Like, of course, our home is still a work in progress, and we're working towards having another home and making our little home a version of that. But it is about people. Yeah, that's definitely been a huge sort of check for me.
Which you would have heard of that book, The 25 Regrets of the Dying. Bronnie Ware. Author Bronnie Ware. Look that up. It's a great book. I think it's a Hay House book. But that's what they say. Often people, when they're reaching the end of their life, they have the realization, what was actually really important to me? What was really important in this life? It was actually the love and the relationships.
Yeah, relationships. That's right. And not just a close family, but beautiful community, friends, even having a local coffee shop that I would go to every day and see the same faces and just feel very part of something. And I think, I might not go to church anymore like when I was a kid, but that kind of connection to people in a close sense family, but also a broader sense community has been very, very important during this time. Yeah.
It's so important, community.
It is.
And I remember watching a TED Talk, and they were talking about, they had done the research to go, what were like the top 10 key things for a long life. And number 1 was social connection. And it wasn't even like, I've got besties everywhere. It was that you walk down the street and you see the barista at the coffee shop and you say hello and you have a chat for a minute, or you go to the supermarket or the newsagent and that you smile and someone smiles at you and you have that social connection. It doesn't necessarily mean everything needs to be super deep. But they said that was the number 1 thing that assisted with living a long life with longevity. It wasn't not smoking, not drinking, bad food. It was that social connection.
Yeah, loneliness is awful, and you don't have it's not necessarily about being alone, is it? It's just that not being connected. And I think that's too, like, why we moved back to New Lambton was because, there's lots of beautiful suburbs in Newcastle, but we felt like New Lambton was our community, it was our people. We missed being just part of it and the streets and knowing, the man that walks his dog at 3 o'clock around the neighborhood, and, you just know everything and you feel so connected in that, enshrined in that place.
Yeah.
And I think too, coming from the UK and rebuilding my life here with my husband, who is a local Aussie, but it has become even more important to me to have that, like, home away from home. So when we moved back into New Lambton, it felt a bit like, that's right.
That's beautiful. And a lot of people say we're soulful, spiritual beings having a human experience. But one of the most important things about human experience is community and a sense of belonging, and being part of something, a tribe, a community.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So Laura, what's next for you and your family?
Well, I think settling into our little townhouse, we love it. It's small, but I will say that's something else I've learned. I'm like, well, actually, it's quite nice to have a little small where I know where everybody is. And we're focusing on getting some plants in the garden, some real basics to make it a bit more homely. Just rebuilding. I quit my job and my local media job because of the stress of this situation. And also it felt working in media during this time was not right. Being the story and writing the story didn't really feel right for me. And so it's like I've scratched my life and I'm starting again, and I'm focusing on the family and bringing in some money as well, because we need it.
You may have to build a new house.
Well, that's right. So yeah, it's back to basics a little bit, and hopefully taking some time, still having some fun along the way.
Amen, sister. Amen. Family, relationships, building a home, and having a little fun along the way.
That's it.
Absolutely. Well, we wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Now, where can people find your work? You have a website?
I do. It's laurajackel.com.au. Work history, career stuff on Instagram, Laura C. Jackel, or The Good News Hunter on Instagram, or LinkedIn. Just find me. Find me anywhere. Facebook. I think I'm everything.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Laura, for coming and sharing that and giving us all something to think about. What does home really mean? And it's making me think how grateful we are. Well, I know I am to actually have a home.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Soul
you.
Sista.